Ah, dev server time. I always enjoy seeing the new stuff that they have to offer. I hear Japan got a little interesting surprise. A surprise, they say. Aviation fleet. Whoa. Helicopters? I know they had fleet, but... wait, what? What helicopter is this? Oh my goodness! It's an anime helicopter. H-1S. Oh boy. Kisarazu. I think I got it. Kisarazu. H-1S Kisarazu. It looks like an AH-1F. Let's test fly it. Just has the typical 20mm cannon. Flies like any other AH-1. Flies nicely. I can't get over that paint scheme. I like it. It's cool. Wait, oh, they even have people! Ah! Wait, what? The pilot's helmet's not working right. And I don't know why I said people. I meant to say they have the anime girls flying the helicopter. That is cool, man. I really like that paint scheme. That is really cool. But a new question comes into mind. As cool as this helicopter is, will it be a DMM exclusive? Because you can't even purchase it yet. Oh gosh. Oh no. I could feel the panic coming on. No! No! Oh man, it's gonna be DMM only. DMM only? Pass. It's DMM only stuff. Panic! Rage! What do we do? People, calm down. See, we should just wait for a dev blog before we jump to a conclusion. Or better yet, I can ask. Some people say it will be DMM only. What do you think? Some people say that Earth is flat. See, it may not be DMM after all, but let's just wait and see what info will come soon, TM. Okay? Ay ay ay. Howdy folks, Sauber here. Welcome back to the channel. I got a rather valid question to ask. Which is the better SPAA? The ZPRK-2S6 Tunguska with 4 30mm cannons and 8 HEAAMs? Or the Bradley ADATS. I think I got it. ADATS. I don't know why I had the hardest time pronouncing that acronym. ADATS. And oh my goodness, what is that? Is that APS? What are those things? Those little tubes just below the AAMs. That's weird. I wonder if that means we'll get some active protection system in the game later on. Which wouldn't surprise me. I never thought we'd get SPAA like this, for example. Armor-wise, it's pretty decent. I mean, if you can stop at 50 cal, it would seem, but anything bigger, not so much. And it's got the good old 25mm Bushmaster cannon. And, ooh... it looks like our gunner is playing a video game inside of a video game. You see that? I can even see a little joystick on that panel. That's really cool. Now, I keep wanting to say AAMs, but they're technically ATGMs on the ADATS. 900 millimeters of pen at 0 degrees. That is just amazing. And if we look at the Tunguska, I forgot to mention that the Bradley ADATS has the 8 ATGMs that double as AAMs, and then the 25 millimeter cannon. I mean, sure, while the Tunguska's ATGM or AAM, oh, it's so confusing, only pens 40 millimeters of armor. You can trap shot it easy. And plus, unlike the ADATS, you can fall back on those amazing quad 30 millimeter cannons. So essentially, if you run out of missiles or if you encounter a tank, granted, you may not be able to kill a tank from the front, but you can at least disable it to give you time to back into cover, or alternatively, as I would probably do, depending on the tank, try to flank it from behind, set it on fire so it'll have to put that fire out, and then try to get its turret from the rear. Yeah. However, there is one little drawback that I notice about the ADATS that honestly makes me favor the Tunguska more in this regard. Mobility. The ADATS has a decent engine, not the best, but not necessarily the worst either, and can only go 7 miles an hour in reverse. The Tunguska has a 628 horsepower engine versus the ADATS. Oh, I didn't get a good look at it. I think it was like 470 something horsepower, but look at this transmission. 4 gears, 40 miles an hour forward, and 40 miles an hour backwards. That's just amazing. I mean, why can't they do all tanks like that? Just reverse the transmission. Yeah, 41 miles an hour, 7.9 miles an hour in reverse. So, not really the best. So, I'm really interested to see how the Tunguska fares against the ADATS. And I'm kind of favoring the Tunguska, but let's see. Without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so we are on a custom battle map hosted by the tech mod and my fellow coworker, Templar. Now, I was going to attempt to try to do the comparison via a realistic battle, but I quickly realized when it comes to the dev server, I'm not sure why, but well, it's obvious. There's not a lot of players and there's mostly bots, but the thing I'm not so sure about is you don't really see a lot of aircraft. Now, I'm not sure if that was because most people were wanting to do the tanks or what, but the custom battle helped me do a better comparison. Oh, and I apologize for the little graphical glitch you saw there. I indeed fired an ATGM. I wasn't using hacks, I swear. It's just a bug with the dev server, because I even noticed it in the battle itself, not just the replay. So hopefully they'll fix that in the following patch. And later you will see me actually operating the AAMs. It's just for some reason it decided, no, I don't want to animate right now. But it's like once I fired the Bushmaster, it actually started working again, where you could see me launching the ATGM. So the info I could pick up from the ATGMs on the ADATS was they're essentially ATGMs, but they have airburst via what's the word? Radio fuse. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but that's pretty amazing. The only problem I did notice with these types of missiles is because they're much larger, 152 millimeters in diameter, as opposed to the Tunguska's AAMs, which are, what were they? I think 90 millimeters in diameter. So, because these are wider, they take more time to maneuver. And if an aircraft is swift enough to avoid, then chances are your missile's not going to detonate midair. Whereas on the Tunguska, they are much more maneuverable, and I've had better success with the Tunguska's missiles. So yeah. But when I tested this ATGM against tanks, hoo-wee, as you'll soon see, it can even penetrate the armor of a Leopard 2. Leopard 2A4 to be exact. I didn't test it on a 2A5, but on the 2A4, it went through it like butter. It was amazing, because if I recall correctly, the composite, I don't know, remember exactly on the Leopard 2, but on the M1 Abrams, the composite armor is effective thickness against, is it 600 or 650 millimeters against chemical. Now against kinetic, you know, it on average, it's about, or no, I'm sorry, I got confused. I was thinking of the hull, but on the turret, it's like something ridiculous, like 800 or 1000 millimeters. Oh, and to deviate a little, I wasn't sure what those bolts were. I was freaking out. I was like, are those SS logos? And I was like, no, that's not. Because if I recall correctly, isn't there like a NATO building in Europe where the building is kind of shaped like the SS insignia? I know, weird stuff. But that's a topic for another day. But anyway, I'm surprised that they didn't call this update 1.89 Locked On 2.0, because that's essentially what it is. You're getting more locked on vehicles, SPAA vehicles, and I was worried when I started reading these devlogs. I'm like, oh man, aircraft are really gonna be useless, and especially helicopters, for that matter. But I later read through the patch notes. Now this is subject to change, but so far it looks pretty good. And that is, they're going to reduce the SP costs for helicopters and aircraft. So if I understand correctly, they are going to revert the aircraft spawn points to what it was before 1.87. At least I think it was 1.87. It was one of the patches where people were complaining about helicopter ATGMs, where people would take literally M2 light tanks, rush the spawn, J out, and then spawn in a Zulu. Or alternatively, they would take a BT-5 and then rush cap, J out, and spawn in an Mi-24V or an Mi-35 Hind. Yeah. So people were complaining about that. They removed the ability for reserve tanks to be free in terms of spawn point cost. And they also jacked up the price for, the spawn price rather, for aircraft as a whole, and especially helicopters with ATGMs. So helicopters with ATGMs, currently at 1.87, you need at least 625 spawn points. Without ATGMs, you need 450. So, I don't know, maybe in the next patch, taking helicopters will be more practical even at the spawn, which kind of worries me because, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, but currently, as it is, with the spawn points for helicopters without ATGMs, 450 spawn points, that's your starting amount too. So if you spawn in a helicopter from the get-go, you have no spawn points left. So what does that mean? If you die without getting any kills, you cannot respawn. Not even in an SPAA, for the most part. Because I've tried spawning in a helicopter from the get-go, like from the moment... Am I saying gecko? I'm trying to say get-go, and I'm saying gecko instead. Good grief. But from the get-go... There I go again. I can't say get-go. I keep saying gecko. Okay, from the start, I'll just say from the start, if I spawn in a helicopter from the start, chances are I either get wrecked by a Tunguska, an MBT-70, or any tank that has a 50 cal or an MG3 30 cal. So, yeah, and there's, even because helicopters can be so slow and you have to fly low to the ground, without ATGMs you have to resort to either grenades or rockets, which the latter case, you have to get them spot on and hope that the enemy doesn't see you, because otherwise you're not going to have a lot of success. And I tried so many times with my AH-1 and my Mi-24D to the point where I was like, it's just not practical, because sure, I get some good hits, And there was one battle where I did destroy a single enemy tank. I forgot what it was in my AH-1, but I promptly got wrecked by a Shelka. And I kid you not, I only had 60 spawn points. 10 points short of an SPAA. So I was like, never again. Never again. But who knows? Maybe in the next patch, aircraft will be and helicopters will become more practical to use if you can avoid the AA. But whatever the case, I'm going to be chilling in my Tunguska or my ADATS. It depends on how the meta changes, which I almost forgot to mention. I'll get back to in a moment. Oh, and to deviate a little, that radar dish is not supposed to rotate like that. It should be rotating... it shouldn't be rotating like that. That is just so funny. Oh yeah, but all in all, my impression with the ADATS, maybe I need to practice with it a little more, but with its slow mobility and its turret not being able to rotate all that quickly, and the 25 mil not being all that effective against aircraft, I'm kind of leaning toward the Tunguska. I think the Tunguska is still going to be the best AA. And as you'll soon see with my gameplay with the Tunguska, well, I don't even know if I remember if I killed any tanks with the Tunguska. I do get a ton of air kills thanks to its agile missiles and those quad 30s. And someone was telling me not too long ago that there is a variant of the Tunguska that is designed to fight infantry. And I thought, what? That thing against infantry? You're basically using God mode, essentially. I mean, 4 30mm cannons. Now, according to the stat card, I don't know if that means per gun or in total, with all 4 guns combined, but essentially, it can fire 2,000 rounds a minute. Yeah, let that sink into your mind. 2,000 rounds a minute. Oh my goodness. Whew. I mean, that is just amazing how fast those 4 guns can fire. And if you're doing that against infantry, kiss your butt goodbye, really. Because you're not going to stand a chance against a Tunguska that sees. I'm just imagining a scenario of infantry means storming a position and then all of a sudden it's like, look out, Tunguska! They probably wouldn't even have enough time to yell, look out, Tunguska. Oh yeah, and what I was going to mention earlier in regards to the meta changes, I'm wondering what, if any, impact... Sorry, my allergies are getting to me. The Bradley ADATS is going to have on the meta. Because at the moment, honestly, the meta has gotten really stale, and I'm interested to see how this new patch is going to fix it all. Because if you look at ground forces, particularly at top tier, which is generally what I like to play, I like my T-80U, I like my Leopard 2A5, but the meta is kind of stale. And what I mean by that is, since the patch dropped, of the dozens upon dozens of matches I played as Germans and Russians against the Americans, we've won a good majority of those matches, and I've only lost... I can literally count with one hand how many times I've lost against the Americans in ground RP. At top tier, 10.0. 4. 4. That's it. 4 battles lost. Just 4. All the rest were victories. And I'm struggling to understand how that could be, because the M1A1, understandably, it doesn't have the best armor compared to the other tanks, but it doesn't have the worst either. I mean, you look at the C1 Ariete, the P version, its composite is really not the best. And then you also look at the AMX-40, that composite is a joke. Even a T-55 with its APF SDS can pen the AMX-40 no problem. But, oh, and the M1A1 has good maneuverability, so why do they lose a lot? I've never fully understood why that is the case. And granted, the Leopard 2A5 and T-80U have their weaknesses. The T-80U, its breach is basically an invitation to say, hey, shoot your gun at the breach. You're going to go through for the most part. Although there have been occasions where I've been shot there and nothing happened. But that's just thanks to RNGdis for you. And with the Leopard 2A5, you don't really... I haven't really experienced getting hit in the breach. I had my gun hit before, but not my breach. But what I have been killed by the most is having my lower plate pinned and hitting the ammo rack. That's how you can destroy any Leopard 2, be it the Leopard 2K, Leopard 2A4, or the Leopard 2A5. And the T-80U, for some reason compared to the T-80B, has a very weak lower front plate. 50 millimeters as opposed to 80 millimeters. Now that might not sound like much, but there are times where I've been hit in the lower plate of my T-64B, granted by conventional shells, not composite shells, and it didn't go through. But I got hit by, what was it, an M103 to the lower plate of my T-80U, and it went through like butter. Now, I'm not saying 50 millimeters is supposed to be strong. I'm just saying it's noticeably weaker than the T-80B. So, I'm really interested to see what, if anything, the ADATS will have on the meta for top-tier ground forces gameplay. Because on the one hand, sure, it can engage aircraft, although not as well as the Tunguska. Although, obviously, helicopters are anyone's game, because helicopters are not as maneuverable as fast-moving jets. But on the other hand, the ADATS can effectively engage main battle tanks. I mean, sure, the Tunguska can maybe disable their guns or trap shot them, but at long range, it's going to be iffy. Whereas with the ADATS, those ATGMs doubles not only as AAMs, but they're really good at their anti-tank rolls too. I mean, 900 millimeters of pen with chemical, that is really good. I mean, sure, there may be a handful of tanks you may not be able to pen, but for the most part, you can deal with them pretty effectively. And the last thing I want to briefly talk about is, I know that 1.89 is going to focus on the Japanese Imperial Navy, but I really hope that the patch will also bring some life to Jet Air RB, because at the moment, it's kind of gotten stale as well, but for a different reason. It's the same three nations against the same three nations. Mixed battles just about every single game, but it's really gotten old and annoying. And it's Germany, Italy, and Japan against Germany, Italy, and Japan. I mean, I guess it's because there's not yet enough variety for rank 6 jets, or maybe they haven't gotten the BR compression solved yet, because the reason there's compression in the first place is mainly because there's not enough vehicles to fill in a gap. So what do? Excuse me. Templar. They basically compress them into close range BR. I mean, remember when the F3D1 was 8.0? Ay, that was breakfast for my Votor. But that's a topic for another day. All in all, I really hope the new patch will bring some life to Jet Air RB, as well as Tank RB. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. I have been taking a little break from War Thunder, but I'll probably get back on once the patch drops, which will be very soon right away. Since I'm almost out of time, be sure to check the description below for a more detailed explanation. But yeah, that is all for today's video. Have a great day, stay safe, enjoy the new patch. Peace out.